Hello and welcome. I'm Katie. I am officially in my editing phase. So I wanted to make this video to take you along the journey with me. So we're going to talk about what I've done so far, what still needs to be done, and I'm going to talk a bit about my goal to try to hopefully be published by January. So stick around to find out what my plan is. And I'm editing right now the sequel to my novel, The Untamed World. If you are interested in checking it out, for a limited time, I do have it for free, the ebook that is. There is a link in the description below. If the time is past for that, I do always offer the first 2 chapters for free. So the link is also in the description for that. So you can just check it out, see if my writing tone is for you, and if you would be interested in reading the story. So what I have done already, well, I did my complete read through of the book and I figured out where I'm going to have all of my chapters. If you've seen previous videos, you know, I just wrote the whole entire manuscript and did not put chapters anywhere, which is definitely something I've learned from. I will not be doing that again. So yeah, I got that all completely done. And I've started on the developmental part of the editing. During my read through, I realized that I could really add another chapter in between 2 of them. It just seemed like there was just too much tension, these 2 chapters in a row. I needed something to kind of break it up a little bit. And honestly, I think it's good anyways because it adds a little more context. There was definitely some missing links that this chapter I added. Definitely, it makes it flow better and it fills in some questions that the reader might have. And I came across a couple of spots that seemed like they were conflicting points from my first novel. So that was something that after I did the chapter, I looked into that, which this novel, my plan is I am going to break it down into a pretty detailed plot grid, and I'm going to do it with like by chapters for sure. Maybe even the scenes in the chapters, just so I have better information about what is in my story and like where it's located. Because when I was trying to look up information about these points that I thought maybe were kind of conflicting, I had to do a lot of digging into my novel. So yeah, I mean, it's nice because in the Word documents, you have this search bar so I can look up specific wording and stuff, but still, I would like to, especially if it's supposed to be a law that's, you know, can't be broken in the novel. So thankfully, when I did look into that, those conflicting points, the one scene, I was able to just change a few words and then it was fine. And then the other problem that I thought I had was not even a problem. It was something I kind of wasn't sure about. And then when I kept thinking about it, I just had convinced myself that I had made this certain rule. And in the sequel, I wrote a scene and I was like, oh no, how am I going to fix that according to this law? But apparently I didn't actually make that a rule. So that solved the problem. So now I'm in the developmental editing phase. So what is that? So this is where I'm going to be looking at the story as a whole. I'm not really focusing on the grammar or the sentence structures. That kind of stuff can wait, because if I'm going through and I find whole scenes that just need to be rewritten, or if I need to add another chapter, that would be a waste of time to just be going over the grammar and the sentence structures at this point. So I'm going to look at the whole entire story and I'm checking to make sure the scenes are going to flow properly. Make sure that I got to check the pacing. If there's any, you know, character problems that stand out and need to be resolved, then I can make notes about that. I want to make sure that the story plot moves along properly, that each scene contributes to it and is moving the story along, that it's not just a filler, it's not just there. Again, further with my characters, I want to just make sure that their arcs are good, strong, that each character that's in there serves a purpose, that there's some good emotional and growth. Their journey needs to be clear for the reader, and their reactions need to be believable. And then I need to pay attention to my world building consistency. Make sure I don't add some crazy who knows what to it when it wouldn't fit in with the first book. Like, it wouldn't make sense. I need to make sure all of that flows. I want to make sure that all of my scene transitioning flows naturally, that there's nothing really feeling rushed or like it was just thrown in there. And then on the other hand, I don't want it to be too slow. And then I also need to make sure that my theme is woven throughout the story. So the developmental stage is really the idea of, before fixing the little things, you really want to step back and just see the big picture of the story to be able to make sure that that as a whole is strong. So what I did for this, for my editing, something that I did a lot of this for the first book, was printing out a physical copy of my novel. I love working with pen and paper. It is one of my favorite things. So yeah, I got it in my binder here. I'm pretty excited about that. And actually, I do have specific questions that I'm looking at when I read through each chapter, and really, looking into even each scene, like within the chapters. 5 points that I'm going to be looking at specifically. It's my scene by scene developmental editing guide. So I've got the first thing is clarity of time and place. The second one is emotional continuity. Third, purposeful movement. Fourth is pacing. And then fifth is voice consistency. So each of these sections, there are 2 questions for each of those. And I am making this as a free resource. If you want to take a look at that as well for when you do your own editing in the developmental stage, check out the links below. It is going to be available there for you to download for free and use. Okay, now I've made a little bit of a plan for each of the month until January, which would be my potential release date. So in August, I want to focus on my developmental edits. I want to get all of those done with those 5 points that I was just telling you about. So September is going to be the second full revision pass. I'm going to read through it all over again, everything that I've changed and fixed to make sure it flows good. Notice if there's any other issues that are coming up that stand out the second pass. And I'm going to also focus more on my dialogue, making sure that that sounds right, and try to just make sure that the voices definitely stand out as different. At this point, I'm going to be breaking it down into my plot grid. And October is going to bring me to, hopefully, the phase where I can have beta readers and I can get some feedback from them, and then to be able to go through and make any kind of edits based off of the feedback. That will also tell me where I might have some slow areas, if they found something a little bit boring, or if something didn't make sense to them. Because of course, as the writer, I know exactly what I'm thinking, but I may not have put it onto the paper. So beta readers will be able to pick up on that. And I think while I have my beta readers working on that, I'm going to work on the dreaded blurb that I had such a hard time with the Untamed world. Even now when I read the back of it, sometimes I could think, it could be a little bit better, but anyways, I'm going to work on that. So November, I'm going to work on the final proofreading and just polishing it, and also formatting for both the ebook and the print book. Then come December, I'm going hopefully to be able to upload all of my files and launch a countdown for the release date. And I will most likely be doing some arcs as well. So if you are interested in that, keep an eye out. Again, it probably would be good to read the first book because the second one is very much tied to the first one. You would be totally lost. And then hopefully January will be the release month. I would be so excited if I could do it in January because January will be 2 years since I released The Untamed World. And I have already been dreaming up ideas for 3 more books for the Untamed World series. Those 3 are actually going to be all connected. It's going to have all the same characters and stuff, but the story, I've been kind of planning it out that the 3 books will be tied together. So it will be kind of like a trilogy within the Untamed World series. And I also have another idea for a book that actually I did start writing this novel, but then as I was writing it, I was like, this would be a good book to be set in the Untamed World realm, but it would be in the future and from the Earth's perspective. So yeah, that is all for today. If you're working on your own editing journey, let me know in the comments. And do you prefer to work digitally, or do you also like to use pen and paper? I would be curious to hear what you think about that. So until next time, we'll see you.